gonna stay out all night long. That woman named Mary, she's gonna stay out all night long. Well, you know she wouldn't come back to the house until poor Lightnin's blues was gone. Now here's what she said. Now you got another man married. That's why you treat me so unkind. I know you got another man married. That's why you treat me so unkind. Gonna dwell with you. Can't get these blues off my mind. If you made your bed hard, baby, sleep in and call your bed ease. Have you made your bed hard, baby? Sleep in and call your bed ease. Just a funny feeling, and the people call it a mighty bad disease. You just heard me play That Woman Called Mary, one of Lightnin Hopkins' most famous songs. And I'm still in standard tuning. Here are my E's. And don't forget, the song is in swing feel, so every beat could be regarded as a triplet. Let's start with the introduction. I'm playing the first bar with the thumb, except those two notes on the first string. The bend, that's a triplet, and then I'm bending with two fingers and I'm holding these fingers on the other strings, because if you bend so much, possibly your nail from one of the fingers is going to be hooking after another string, and when you go down it might sound, and that's not a pretty sound, so that's why I do that. And I use two fingers because two fingers is stronger than one finger, of course. The bend is a full tone. It's the same note you play on the 12th fret, so that's quite a bend. And then I place my index finger, my pinky, and release. And I also release my pinky. So that's very short. I even mute it with my second finger, middle finger, after I picked it. The moment I pick this and go to that bend note, I place my second finger on the first string, killing the sound. Yeah. The basses are a mix of open and country blues bass, open and muted after that, and even completely muted almost. And it's a mix of three kinds of basses. One hit for a beat, which takes longer than you might expect because we're in a slow swing song, 12/8 feel. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the idea. Or we can have a bass with 2, like that, and even 3. We'll see that further, but that's the different bass sounds you're going to hear. That's blues. Sliding to the 4th fret, and that up stroke rake with your index finger over the first 3 strings, like that. So the rake starts in the middle of the beat and the bass ends when you're at the 4th fret, 3rd string. So one more time. Note the accenting, bar 3. Here that's, well, it's almost a B7 form. You could say it's a B7 form, but I place my index finger on the 2nd string, 5th fret. Again, Ernie Hawkins in his Lightnin Hopkins lessons teaches this with a C chord moved up and the pinky added to the 1st string. I don't agree with that because the open G string doesn't belong there at all. So if you hit it accidentally, and I'm a rather heavy-handed player, and I think Lightnin too, then it doesn't sound good. You either mute it with your 2nd finger tilted, or you play it like I do, like that. Then there's no problem. And the 4th string is muted, but it's not clashing because it's a D. That's what the D7, the E7. So that's that chord in the 4th and 5th bar, and we're sliding up and hitting the 2 bass strings. slightly. Do, 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 do. Triplet. That woman named Mary. You see, in those 2.5 beats, you're gonna sing that first phrase. You know, Lightnin is rather strange where he fits his singing, and I think that's the key of playing his style. And I wrote out the lyrics under the tab so you can follow that. So, that the woman named Mary, she's gonna stay out all night long. Now the phrase she's gonna stay out all night long, in the performance video he hardly touches the guitar. I take the habit of forming the E chords, so if you hit by accident more than one string, you're sounding good. And he sings over that E chord, while normally we would have sing over the A7 chords, but he doesn't do that. He simply goes back to an E chord there. So that walk in, that A7 chord, and then it's not a triplet, that's the third beat of the 7th measure, but like that. So this rings a little bit longer, and this is. She's gonna stay out all night long, and that going from the 4th string to the 1st string, the 6th string, sorry. He always does that when he ends his singing or his vocal phrase. She's gonna stay out all night long. Now I wrote the lyrics under the tab, but well, if you sing one word that's slightly longer, it doesn't fit anymore. As long as you end on that long, on that bass, and night on the 4th string, 2nd fret bass string, then you're okay. She's gonna stay out all night long. So we're sliding to the 5th fret, 2nd string, really, and then letting it vibrate. Triplet. I simply form a half bar here, and then back into our E chord. E7 on the 10th bar, and then thumb, index, thumb. That woman called Mary. Again, he hardly sings over that A7, but does the singing on the last 1.5 beats of the E7 and the 1st beat of the A7. So, bar 10. That is really on that upstroke E7. That woman called Mary. She's gonna stay out all night long. Again, she's gonna stay out all night long over the E chords. And exactly the same as in bar 8, only we're gonna pinch the last beat instead of like that. You can do that too, of course. All those little licks are interchangeable, so don't be so rigid in your thinking, I should play that on that moment. You're very free there. She's gonna stay out all night long. Again that. She's gonna stay out all night long. Now, in the beginning of the 13th bar, there's something I really like to do, and it's not really in the tab. The tab says like this. I'm going to start with the last beat of bar 12. Sorry. But if you play that slide very fast after the bass string, you're going to be able to let it ring slightly longer. Like that. Notice in bar 14 that strange B there on the 5th string, 2nd fret. He does it also very regularly, so it's no accident. In other songs as well. Well, you know she wouldn't come back to the house until poor Lightnin's blues was gone. Now the B7, you see, you sing that over the 3 beats of B7. Well, you know she won't come back to the house also a very typical move for him, playing that B7 and then going just for 1 beat to the A7 and then doing his last vocal phrase over E. Until poor Lightnin's blues was gone. Again, that was gone. Sorry. Notice, for example, in bar 19, how many different kinds of basses. The first one you hear clearly, but it's muted afterwards. The second one is completely muted, and the third one is accented. Mute. And then we have a solo in the video performance. I think he does something, well, he makes, you could say, a mistake. It doesn't turn out how he wants it. So he corrects himself, but I didn't want to copy that exactly how he did it, so I did something different. So we have that mute and then we're back on the same page, more or less. Because even if you see him do and hear him do it, and you try to do the same thing, it doesn't turn out often not the same. He's so unique, and there's a lot of factors that contribute to that, I think. The way his fingers are. He also plays with just thumb and index finger, and that's a very different feel. I think his index finger is more agile than mine, because I do the work, I divide the work over 2 fingers. And if you do that with just 1 finger, it sounds completely different. For example, African acoustic guitarists also always play with 2 fingers. And there the thumb comes also more in play. And they sound completely different. Also, Reverend Gary Davis is a good example of a 2-finger picker. And if you play his music, you should play it with 2 fingers, they say. Okay, we're at the solo, and what I really like in the performance, so I'm starting again with bar 19. There's that silence between the beat because I kept the hit short, and we have that triplet feel. So you have a silence there, and it's good to have some silence now and then. If you tap your foot, you will hear that I'm really on time. Hit that E7, upstroke. You can even hit more than the 3 strings I tapped out, and then a downstroke of all strings. But muted. Excuse me. Otherwise it becomes too messy. Slide into our A, partial, just 2 fingers. Now here I really can't understand what he's doing, so I'm trying to get there in the neighborhoods, and I think it's kind of cool with the double basses there. Slide down. And I also mute that because otherwise it becomes also messy. That's too much. Now here's what she said. Very cool thing there. So in bar 23, here's what she said. And now you go to the 15th fret. You don't have to slide, because if you're going to slide from here, big chance that you're going to hit the wrong fret. So and slide down, and then immediately you have to be fast from that, from the 12th fret in one beat. A B7 just for that half beat, and then you're sliding through. So sorry, it's not. That's it. And again, here I'm playing that 7th fret 1st string faster than in the tap. Is portrait, it's a duple there, but again for, well, dramatic effect. So that's a difficult part here, and I do that with a temp rack. You can do it with 2 fingers, of course, or using 1 finger like Lightnin does for 2 strings. You place it in the middle, and it does like that. So hear what she said. That's what she said. And the accents. Notice the muting again. No muting at all, but. And it seems to come down there after that lick. Also strange when you try to play along with Lightnin. Well, I get lost. His timing is not off, but well, it's different. If you would place a metronome, it would lose track, I think, after a while. simply because it's like he plays guitar like he speaks, and you don't speak in rhythm always. So that's why his timing is, for many people, very odd. So we were at That's What She Said. No, you got another man married. Those bends are not big. It's very slight bends there. Now, the singing, he sings, no, you got another man married. Normally you would sing, I know. But if you're going to add that I, it doesn't fit anymore in what he takes for, well, the space, the time he takes to sing that phrase. Then you have to start a little bit earlier. So, I know you got another man married, says, and I don't like it. He's right to sing it like that. No, you got another man married. So you Mary is on that second beat of the 28th measure. That's why you treat me so unkind. Sorry. I know you got another man married. That's why you treat me so unkind. Bar 30 is exactly the same as before, the singing over that. That's why you treat me so unkind. Again, that vibrato, it's not bending but up and down. I know you got another man married. That's why you treat me so unkind. And here I try to play an extra beat there. I don't think it really works. But you have to go, you have to do that slide to the 7th fret already when you're still singing unkind. And that might prove difficult in the beginning because singing and playing a single string run is often too complicated. So you can add simply a beat there. Let's see how this works. That's why you treat me so unkind. I'm often wrong with the slides. I take then the slide on the first as the first beat, while it's the second note of that beat. That's why I chose to drop that extra beat there. So that's why you treat me so unkind. All right. All triplets, and then slide, 9th fret, slightly bend those 5th fret, 4th strings. Sorry. Again, that's strange B notes, which we've seen also in the 14th measure. It still does it. You know that blues gonna dwell with you. Can't get these blues divided over the beats. And then we have that end phrase. Lots of double basses there. Muted. And then we have the solo, which is also very typical of Lightnin Hopkins. And this time, which he doesn't do that often, it's a full 12-bar blues solo. He often drops the B7 section. Okay, so you slide to the 6th fret, 4th fret, and the open B string. It may ring, not necessarily necessary. It's not accented like that, no. It's there. Besides, it's the same notes as the fretted 3rd string. Back again to that bass. And mute, and then we have. I do that with my index finger. I don't know if he does it with a tempo or not. I do it anyway with the index finger, and I mute by placing, after I picked it, the finger on the string again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, da da da, bum 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 bum. So the bend again, like in the beginning. 2 fingers to do the bend, 1 finger to keep all the other strings quiet. And Lightnin goes like that, of course. A showman as he is. I keep my cool here, and I did 1, 2, 3, 1. Sorry. You see, my fingers are really under those strings, and that's why I want to keep them quiet with my index finger. And again the pinky on the 1st string for that 10th fret. And you keep the bend. And then now you're going to release it. And pull off, and the open string. Takes a while to get that clean. It sounds easy, but it takes a while. Also to do that release and that pull off without touching the 1st string, or that it rings. After I pick, I rest my finger on that 1st string and I pick it with the middle finger. So the moment I go to that release and bend note, my 2nd finger remains on the 1st string. That keeps it quiet. Here we have those triplets, treble strings and bass. 1, 2, 3, and then bend. No, another beat. And here's only 1 bass, and that gives a sort of release, almost relief. that bar is the most difficult one of the whole song, I think. And he does that so casually, lying on his back, so to speak, half drunk or completely drunk. Your take is as good as mine, but it's really, well, I call it pure genius. So we have that, and then again I'm using my to keep the other strings quiet, because it's a full tone bend. Sounds exactly the same as the 12th fret. And build up some tension. So the triplet becomes, well, almost a quadruplet in the 48th bar. So we have that. And then I didn't write out the release, but I do it. And it's that slide. And really the E in the 9th fret rings is here, you can hear it, and also the end result of that slide, the A on the 2nd fret. So one beat, and then one beat, and followed by. Alright, I'm gonna try to play it slowly. I use my pinky to get that 3rd fret 6th string. You can use another finger, of course. Another difficult part, I think, in the solo. So in bar 50, you get a little bit of rest there, and I play that with the temp. So temp, temp, and then I slide to the 4th fret, and you have to do that with your 3rd finger. And he plays a tremolo, and you can play it over 1 beat or 1/2 beat or 2 beats. And then he goes down, still playing that tremolo, and very slightly that pull off. You can hardly hear it, and I must admit I often, well, not really screw up, but because if you're on time for the next beat with that, you're okay. Like that. And it's you'll notice that normally I use a white John Pierce vintage thumb pick. It's good for everything I do, but now I used a Fred Kelly slick pick. You see, it's equal on both sides, and that will help you with that tremolo. I also tilt my temp so the attack is from sideways. The pick goes like that over that one string. And then we have that B7. last beat is down, index, and thumb to do that slide. So I slide from the first fret to the second fret, and then I play the bass, the 5th open string, and that A note on the 5th fret 1st string. And you can let that ring for 1 or 2 beats. But the important thing is that you keep tapping or having the rhythm in your mind, that you start, that is on the beat. And notice that this time, they are triplets, but I accent them differently. Not the first note, but those bends on the 3rd fret 2nd string. Playing with dynamics here. If you made your bed hard, baby, that was kind of, well, interesting too, for that first measure of verse, the last verse, the verse with vocals, to lose the triplet feel for a couple moments. So, if you made your bed hard, baby, sleep in and call your daddies. Have you made your bed hard, baby? Alright, so again we have our vocal phrase over 2 beats, 2.5 beats. If you make your bed hard, baby. Slide bends not very big. Sleep and call your beddies. Sleep in and call your beddies. Well, if you can explain me what it really means, let me know. I didn't want to change it because, well, it is lightning. Sleep in and call your beddies. I'm just going upwards to get a different color. And again, you see that at the end of the vocal phrase, sleep in and call your beddies. You stretch your a little bit, otherwise you're ending too soon. Sleep in and call your beddies. Really, lightning could do really nice strums and control them. Notice that the third note of that triplet, we have a normal E chord, the other ones are E7. See my pinky going up? Have you made your bed hard, baby? Sleep in and call your beddies. Really cool, and so we have sleep in and call your beddies. As on the off beats, you already go to that 3rd fret 6th string. I do it with a pinky, you can use another finger, of course. Just a funny feeling, and the people call it a mighty bad disease. Alright, the B7, pretty much the same as before. So we had our... You know the blues just a funny feeling. Nice, cool. Down the B7, indexed open G string, and then the slide, and just it's the strum downwards, and I don't think you hear the second string, but it's not impossible. And the people call it a mighty bad disease. Those slides. And he's ending with a solo. Now on the video the song goes beyond the solo a little bit but fades out, so I ended with this solo and I gave it my own ending. Anyway, it goes like this. So so it's a variation of the previous solo in bar 66. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 again. Notice the muting. With the temp, just place it on the string. Yeah. That last note is not bent. You go down. And the second last beat is also just one bass, which brings everything, well, back to ease. Notice how you have to, well, how I colored those triplets in the 73rd bar. And here, it's that second fret, that F sharp, that gets all the attention, and the other open strings there, they're along for the ride, but it's not, that doesn't really sound good. No. Triplets. And now, you see I'm forming already the chords, so I'm ready for that E9, which Lightnin didn't use, but I like. The Brownie McGee chord. Just your E7 and you move your second to third finger to the second fret first string. So I guess that's it for Mary. Really